Well, Visual Crimes was my attempt to do a long form comic, more than single or double page spreads that I was doing with Jack. And it's based on a men's adventure illustration that existed when I was a young illustrator. And this is dedicated to a particular illustrator called Rotart Sulli, as you see in the first page. And Rotart Sulli is illustrator backwards, which is a common comic book device for magical words and stuff, to just have it spelled backwards. And this is the story of Rotart. It was done probably approximately 1988, 1987. Again, acrylics on Bristol board, 18 by 24. As you see, Rotart is a big guy, and it's my idea of opposing a type. Rather than have him be an aesthete or whatever, I decided to make him a bodybuilder. But he's, or a weightlifter actually, not a bodybuilder. He's based on my best friend who lifted weights, Gil Stone. Doesn't look like him at all, but I was thinking of him while I was doing this. The publisher is a hidden figure, kind of shady figure, maybe a mob figure. None of those apply to my experience with publishers or editors or art directors. But I wanted the mystery. Notice the rotary dial phone? When was the last time you saw one of those? It is 1988, after all. And there's like representations of two different cats. The first one, the orange one, was flesh, and this one was a cat, another cat called Flyface. Both of them appeared in SVA posters. So they're included for a reason. And the mystery begins. He goes to the Hotel Ace and given the room 601, which at that time was my usual classroom at SVA as a teacher. He's got an almost Easter Island face, you know, those idols on Easter Island. It's big sculptures. And the mystery begins. Notice the determined look in Rotart Sulli's face as he figures out the job ahead of him. Find the secret studio at Hotel Ace and begin the job, meeting a deadline. These are all sketches to be painted, and I never got around to doing it, so they're done with a flare pen, 8.5 by 11. And then Jack shows up to keep all my characters in one image. Manhole, I think I did this before the series started, the comic part, and this was a way to tie it all together in the visual crime magazine. Anyway, this is the white box is where the story would fit into the picture. You'd read that, and then there's the picture. So the stories I wrote were really terrible. They're just means to make a picture. This is about a bank robbery witnessed by a Con Edison guy who electrifies the car, and the hostage gets electrified too. Um, so he didn't help the situation. He killed somebody. Um, so again, it was meant to be for the visual. Please forgive the stories. Uh, these were published. Most of them were published in alternative, two alternative comics. This was published in the small version of Raw, Collect Yourself. It's about a woman who goes to a flea market and finds a seller that is actually selling objects from her own life without and she would buy them back, not knowing this person at all, not telling him that these are actually hers. And the last thing she bought back had a ring that had a poison pin in it. Kind of stupid, but it gave me a good image. This is someone that American Indian that saved a woman's life in the city, and then saved her from being hit by a truck or a car or something. And so from that point on, he was responsible for her life. So he followed her around the city, and at one point, she was attacked by muggers, and he was in a building above her, watching over her, and he just jumped off the building and crushed the muggers, as well as killing himself. Gave me an image. That's the whole point behind it. I actually like this story. Killer waitress. A guy goes to a diner with a friend and sees a waitress going through a door into the kitchen, and the door swinging back and forth and giving a strobe effect of another waitress coming up behind the cook and axing him in the head with a meat cleaver, killing him, being the killer waitress. And then the other waitress leaves the kitchen really fast and takes off her apron. It ends up that that's their waitress, the killer waitress, and they pay their bill, and she's very cool and unperturbed, and they leave her a good tip, but they never go back there again. And his friend disappeared. This is crazy crowd. A woman gets caught in a group of people walking down the street, and she can't get out of the crowd. They won't let her out. And they walk her into a subway, and they jump off an abandoned subway, and they jump off the platform and go to the electrified third rail and link hands, and at the last minute one of them grabs her leg and zap. What I try to do is kill everybody at the end, so I don't have these continuing characters like I had previously with Jack, etc. So it's like 250 words in most cases. The story is about a meter man coming to a woman's house, then led into the house, goes into the cellar, and then she goes on with her business, goes shopping, comes back. She doesn't remember him ever leaving the cellar, and for days later, things were missing from the refrigerator, and there's a smell of urine in the cellar, and she asked her husband about it, and he said he didn't piss down there, and one day she goes down in the cellar, and there he is, the meter man hanging from the ceiling. He committed suicide in the cellar. Now this is my best friend Gil, who sadly died in 1984 at the age of 44. And in the back of my mind, though I wasn't thinking it really strongly, was for Rotart was Gil, who was a weightlifter. He preferred that term than a bodybuilder because he just wanted to lift power weights and stuff. And he was an excellent illustrator and a painter. He got a Prix de Rome. He illustrated things for Penthouse and all over the place. I mean, he was like a top-notch illustrator. So it was good. I mean, like I said, my best friend. So I'm greeting him coming up my stairs.